U.S. virus plan anticipates 18-month pandemic and widespread shortages. The federal government plan to combat the coronavirus warned policymakers last week that a pandemic will last 18 months or longer and could include multiple waves, resulting in widespread shortages that would strain consumers and nation's healthcare system. It was a 100-page plan dated Friday, the same day the president declared the national emergency, laid out a grim prognosis for the spread of the virus, and outlined a response that would activate agencies across the government and potentially employ special presidential powers to mobilize the private sector. Now, I do say this with a slight warning, because behind the scenes, there's always some agenda, and it may not always be the presidential agenda. So I'm going to read this with some caution. Among the additional key federal decisions listed among the options for Mr. Trump was invoking the Defense Production Act of 1950, which he in fact did invoke, the 1950 Defense Production Act, so that we might have some more materials. A Korean War era law that authorized the president to take extraordinary action to force American industry to ramp up production of critical equipment and supplies, such as ventilators, respirators, and protective gear for healthcare workers. Shortages, later goes on and states that shortages of products may occur, impacting healthcare, emergency services, and elements of critical infrastructure. The plan warned this includes potentially critical shortages of diagnostics, medical supplies, including PPE and pharmaceuticals, and staffing in some locations. It says also PPE refers to personal protective equipment. The plan continued. State and local governments, as well as critical infrastructure and communication channels, will be stressed and potentially less reliable. These stresses may also increase the challenges of getting updated messages and coordinating guidance to these jurisdictions directly. Okay? That's not exactly very good, but there's a reason why we don't know what's going on in presidential intelligence briefings, because some of this stuff might be going across the table daily, and it's just not something we want to know. But in this case, we want to know everything we must know, because if we're working on a 18-month timeline with real scenario, we want to know that these things could break down. Now, you've already seen, I'm sure, that the sales of guns and ammunition has been off the charts. All I can say about that is in a lifetime, you might not ever need more than a box of ammo. So I'm going to continue on here. That says the plan, which was unclassified but marked for official use only, not for public distribution or release, was shared with this news group as Mr. Trump escalated his efforts to curb the spread of the virus. Okay, now it's very important that we keep a democratic society. So I do not blame him for his decisions. These are decisions he decided he had to make. Much of the plan is bureaucratic in nature, describing coordination among agencies and action that in some cases have already been taken, like urging schools to close and large events to be canceled. But its discussion of the Defense Production Act came as lawmakers and others urged Mr. Trump to invoke its power. While administration response has so far lacked the urgency, okay, this might go into politics, so I'm not going to read this, but you get the gist of it right now. And I kind of wanted to bring up this. Now, this is a video I had in previous times. I produced this, looks like 8 months ago. It was a different time. I really like the entertainment value of the videos. I like sharing scripture. This stuff was a little bit too serious for me. Having dreams like this, it's a little bit heavy. I like to stay a little bit lighthearted. But I do want to say that our farmers are aging. Our farmers are an aging group. There are a very small group of young, middle-aged farmers that I know of. And I do know that there are a large group of aging farmers. Now put that in perspective with the scenario we're dealing with right now. Also, I think we all remember this. Surviving a catastrophic power outage. Those two symbols I added in. I photoshopped in. Nuclear, biological. Because I kind of wondered if they weren't trying to prepare us for what the possibilities were in the future, things that they knew that we don't know, that we may never know. But I just kind of want to say that if you're buying things that you just know you don't need so badly, maybe a month of this or a month of that, you could hold off on a lot of things with regards to maybe toilet paper. If you got a month or 2 months of that, I think you're going to be okay. But what you do want to get is the practical things. If you can cook, get the rice. If you can find a container to put it in, make sure you get the container. If you don't have the containers, don't buy that. Move on to something else because it looks like we're in for the long ride. Thanks for watching.